Ko Betway ba tshepela hore o tshwantse o betjhe ka tsela e nepahetseng.
Ka nako e nngwe o tlamehile hore o ikhule hanyane.
Ka nako tse ding
o ska leka go busha tše di lahlegilego.
Nakusasa kuse olunye usuku.
Dlala ngokusemandleni wakho.
Ge o tlhoka thušo re gona.
hopola, bet responsibly.
Kev's Betway Bet is brought to you by Betway.
Yeah, and I had a fairly decent weekend. 5 bets. I got one wrong. But I started off well.
Only? You only got one wrong?
Yeah, I know, because last week I only got one right. And although Fiso Mazabuko got 3 wrong. So his bets were on the Thursday night and he didn't do so well. So I started off with the Betway PSL. And I went with Stellenbosch. I did the double chance to draw or Stellies to win at 1.35. And, you know, Amazulu were 3.1 to win. Stellenbosch were 2.36. They were favourites, even though they're away from home. And then they won 5-0. I mean, a Stellenbosch a team that, if you're Sundowns and Chiefs and Pirates, well, not Chiefs so much, but did you be looking over your shoulder at?
Look, Stellies are on the up. I mean, they played RS Bacane and they were beaten 5-0. Then they come back and they play Amazulu and they beat them by 5-0 at the end of the day. Veli Motwa in the sticks for Amazulu. I felt so sorry for him. I think it was his 100th PSL appearance, but he's not been himself lately. And also, if you take a look at him in the national team, and he's one of the firm favorites of Coach Hugo Bros, the game against Uganda, if memory serves me correct, I don't know. Veli is just not himself. But okay, he had a very poor defense as well. Extremely poor. Amazulu just didn't turn up. They did not turn up.
Bizarre.
Yeah, they didn't. And, I mean, kudos goes to Stellies.
And also
Definitely.
Steve Barker. Steve Barker making, I mean, there's a thing about playing to your limitations and playing with what you got, which obviously Spurs haven't been doing in the UK. Liverpool are, so they play with what they got. Is Steve Barker that sort of coach that he plays with what he's got and he does well with it?
And it's a coach that you won't hear complain very much.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not seeing Nabi on the bench, are you? No, you're not. I don't know if he just knows how to control himself, but I have always met the same coach, whether he wins or whether he loses, right? You will never see the F-bombs drop there, and maybe they do, and I've just never seen. But he is a very controlled coach. You won't see like a tantrum, you know, on the side. Yes, there's shouting and whatever. But I just think he's extremely controlled. This is what I have. This is what I'm going to do. We've won today. We've lost today. And off he goes. Like, I think if it's a gentleman poster of football, it goes to Steve Barker.
Well, that's it as well. And also it's about not trying to buy your way out of trouble. You know, like a lot of clubs do. Sundowns, for example, but they manage to buy well. Chiefs, though, what are you buying? What are you getting for your money? What are you getting value for money? And why and how are those players going to fit into your system? I see there's a Orlando Pirates legend, Innocent Mayayo, who said that Amazulu shouldn't actually...
Mayela?
That would be him. Mayo, or there's a misspelling on SNL, not mine. Sorry. But he said that Veli shouldn't even be on the bench. He's so bad at the moment.
Oh, man. I'm not about to... We all go through something at some point. We all have very high highs. We all have very low lows. I take a Keegan Dolly, for example, who was flying at one point, you're right, tipped to have been the highest paid player in the PSL as well when he played for Kaiser Chiefs, coming from France at the time, plagued by injury. But also, there was a moment where he just entered the best sort of footballing period of his career. I would say Williams is there at the moment as well. Relay is there at the, as well. And so I just figure you hit your moments of highs, but you're going to have a bad day in the office, right? And there might be a couple. And you might be going through something, or something is just amiss. Yeah. And I think we need to give everybody grace for that period. Veli also started his career quite late. He didn't start like in the teens kind of thing and make it into a team, because there was a time we were heaping praise on Veli Motwa, like, where have you been? Why only now? And I just think just a little bit of grace for everybody that kind of stumbles and falls. It's not like, oh, how the mighty have fallen, but just afford him his time for whatever it is, whatever period he's in. And hopefully he makes a comeback, because he is a great keeper.
Yeah, and
A great human also.
patience is a great.
Do you know that all the singing on the Bafana bus
No, is that him?
is Veli?
No ways.
Veli's got like a loudspeaker there. And I say we, when I was a part of the team, lost. You can hear a pin drop in that bus. But if it is that team won, man, the windows are about to crack and break and fall out because the singing on that bus with Veli's speaker is just on another level.
Oh, I'm good. Okay, Veli, keep on. Don't worry about your defenders. As a
Don't
defender,
worry about your defenders because also he's the last line of defense. You can't just
Yeah.
heap everything on Veli
No.
and your line of defense is poor. Like, where are your men? Where are your men who are
Exactly.
supposed to protect you? So, I mean, Veli takes everything because he's in the sticks.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team? So we're not gonna criticize the rest of the team.
We used to blame our goalkeeper all the time. He gave himself the nickname the Cat, and every time he went down, he became a whining cat because every time a goal went past him, he suddenly had an injury. We go, oh,
It wasn't when he chose us because his nickname is Cut.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that. Okay, right. Speaking of sticking with 5-0, Bournemouth playing Forest. Forest outside favourites to win this, so 3.35. Bournemouth at 2. I went with both teams to score, and then Bournemouth got smashed 5-0. You know, so Forest are high up in the league. You know, they're in the top 4. They're flying. Bournemouth just stopped them dead in their tracks. Bournemouth are I think very much a dark horse to finish in the top 4. You want to put some money in there, perhaps. You can bet on Betway.co.za to finish in the top 4, and I think the odds are very good on them at the moment. But they're a bit like, Manchester City. Vitality Stadium's a very hard place to go and play. And the fans at the end wanted 6. So I don't know how Forest go from flying to this. I mean, what is it with teams and big scores? What do you think goes on in your head?
What Muti did they use? Or what Muti didn't they use?
I've heard too many. So what did Jomo Son used to call it? Special projects people.
Special projects. And when I spoke to Dikgang Mabelane, and that interview is about to drop this week, I'm very excited. At Cosmos, they called it the car wash.
Is that what you got your boots, so you have to walk in through
Look,
to get out? Yeah.
that's what he said. He said if it's time for the car wash, everybody's like, hey, time for car wash.
Yeah, and there have been incidents of people being chased away from goal mouths and trying to put the muti down there. So if you're a Forest, you would check if there are South Africans in the opposition team just in case.
If you're a Forest, you should have all the muti at your disposal.
And a team that doesn't need muti at the moment is Arsenal. They played Wolves at the weekend. I went with Arsenal to win 1.47, both teams to score. But then there was obviously the abhorrent.
The refereeing situation.
The yellow card against Miles Lewis Skelly. They won 1-0, but the decision to send him off was a joke. And he went through the VAR. We need to have a long chat about VAR and why it's not working at the moment. There seems to be so many different interpretations. And that's perhaps why it's not in South Africa yet. Can you imagine the accusations that will happen here?
Look, I don't think it's going to come to South Africa. I mean, there is a very big divide in terms of does it add to the game or does it take away from the game? But if it is that it's boldly there in your face, it is a conversation to have because why not? Fair play, right?
Yeah.
And then you think, is it fair play or does this...
Does it add?
I'm trying to find nice words. But fair play, does it matter? If fair play is at play that you bring in VAR, does it matter? Or does our game not have fair play and so therefore bring in VAR and you're just going to see a different sort of referee? I'm really trying to bite my tongue, but I'm trying to get a point across.
Yeah.
So if not, why not?
Yeah. Will it shine an unexpected or
is there a bias towards certain
yeah.
teams, and is that what we're going to see if we bring in VAR?
So Liverpool, I'm a big Liverpool fan. They've had
I
some
know.
bad decisions. Spurs goal last season when Luis Diaz scored, and VAR made an absolute mess of it and then apologised. Yeah, I think VAR is too subject to subjection, and is personal decision. And it's almost leaning towards not making the referee look bad. And would that happen in South Africa? I mean, what's the relationship between referees and players? It seems to be fractious at best. But is it fair? And
Look, I think it's a good question. What is the relationship between referees and players? And there shouldn't actually be one.
yeah,
I mean, you
exactly.
can't be sitting and having a pint of beer one day, and then the next day I'm telling or giving you a red card. I think there is no relationship, and I think that's the best way in order to enforce rules of the game, because you can't now be giving your buddy a red card, or now you're biased. And I think we're all biased to a degree. Why? Because we all support somewhere, some team, somehow.
Yeah.
Whether you're a player or whether you're a referee, you know, whether you're a linesman, whether you're an umpire, somewhere, somehow, inherently, you came from somewhere before you became this person or thing. And you supported a team, right?
Yeah.
And now you've got to go and sit there and pretend like, oh no, I'm here, I'm all neutral, I'm neutral. I mean, deep down inside, when I was pitch side, I support a team, right?
Yeah.
And inside, I'm like, yes, my team won today. But outwardly, I'm there just asking questions and trying to take that very neutral
exactly.
stance. But I mean, we're human beings at the end of the day. You're telling me you aren't going to shout and scream for your team, and then you have to write or report something later. We all support someone, somewhere, somehow, a team.
I've been a referee in a lot of, and these are social league games, and I've been the referee against my club. But it's a very friendly. These are my mates, and they've turned around and flunked me. They have actually sworn at me and said, "Kevin, stop it!" So, but listen, you do it.
And it's emotional.
Yeah.
Sport is emotional. It's an
It is.
emotional thing.
I'm doing it for free, you know. So we actually instituted a thing, and maybe they should do it in the PSL, and all football said, as soon as someone swears they're a referee, and I played hockey as well, and there's a line in the sand. You don't talk back to referees. And
You're not supposed to.
they need to draw that line in the sand, which they've done now this season with dissent. You shouldn't. I mean, we used to have a thing where, did you shout at Kevin? Yeah. Drink a beer.
Victor Gomes was epic at doing that. The minute you say, yo, massa, that red card is about coming out. I think he gave out 4 red cards. I think it was an NFD game once.
Yeah.
But he's not about to play, right? Either you respect the game and you respect him, or those red cards are going to come out.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't be. And I like the fact that the Premiership is clamping down on it.
But I like that topic, actually. We
Yeah.
should shelve it and actually
Without a
unpack
doubt.
it. Yeah.
I mean, rugby's very strict, and so is hockey and cricket as well. You don't talk back to umpires, and you don't fight with each other in the field. India pushed the barriers there, and they found out the hard way that you shouldn't do it. I'm sure Ange, though, Postecoglou from Spurs, must have been using the F-bomb a lot this weekend. 1-0 up against Leicester. I went with both teams to score 1.49, and it was a 2-1 game. But Daniel Levy, the chairman, the supporters were calling for him to get out. And I'm not entirely sure it's all Danny Levy's fault. I mean, he goes through coaches like Pirates do or Chiefs do. He goes to them a lot. But I mean, it's I think you need to show patience. I think.
Pirates or Chiefs too. Don't you mean Chipper?
Oh yeah, Chipper. Aurora AM.
I think they had 23 coaches, I think.
No ways.
Yeah.
What?
The turnaround was quite high. I don't know if that was in one season, but it was like an all-time record
God.
that was broken.
How do you do?
It's just
So
like
if
in
you're a
and out.
player, you're going.
I think Gavin Hunt went there, and I remember the trolls on Twitter where everybody heard he was heading that way, and they were like, "Don't pack a bag, just take hand luggage."
I'm sure Gavin Hunt dropped a few F-bombs name as well as I do. I've had a long chat to him. Yeah. Gavin Hunt is Gavin Hunt, but he's a great guy. He's
No, he
also
is.
one of the most lovely coaches. And then my final bet was Betway SA20, Sunrise Eastern Cape playing the Joburg Super Kings, as Kevin Fine was speaking to about us earlier. I went with the Super Kings to score the most sixes, and they did.
I can't believe that.
I know. So Sunrisers scored 2, and the Joburg Super Kings scored 4. And if it hadn't been for Dam Forest, I would have won $100 from 10 rand.
Ah.
Yeah, but I didn't. And so
So you needed to get all 5 in order for you to
So that's
win
a multi
money.
bet, yeah. So
Okay, you
basically-
took multi-bet.
Yeah, so
all
that's
right.
an accumulator almost. But yeah, it was a good weekend. It
I
was
actually thought Sunrisers would do way better than the Joburg Super Kings.
But I've been doing sport for years. I know what I'm doing, apart from betting.
Sometimes.
Right, you're going to come out off the break. We're actually going to talk about how referees influence betting, sports betting, and why the decision, the Michael Oliver decision, how bad was that, and why is he getting so much abuse? And he shouldn't be.
To all our believers,
to the gunners of Kopona,
to our drivers and stalkers Arabs,
to the believers at the Brazen Head,
Mseweto.
to Langa,
to Kwamashu,
I'm back.
we hear you.
Now hear us.
Siabonga.
thank you.
Betway, the official global betting partner of Arsenal. Kev's Betway Bet is brought to you by Betway.
So referees are obviously not allowed to bet. Well, good, thank God for that.
Says
but-
who?
No, they're not allowed to. Surely? Can you bet on a game that you're going to be overseeing?
Well, guaranteed that you aren't going to throw the game, but I presented the lotto for a number of years, and it was a 1 in 3 million chance that I would win.
And did you like to play
I
it?
could play.
Oh.
I mean, not that I played very often, but I played because people from the public could come in, you could check the machines, how the balls drop and everything. And it's that fairness to the game, you know? So my family could play, I could play. So I don't see why referees can't play.
Well, in all those years that you were presenting, I didn't win a cent, so thank you.
You're welcome. Neither did I.
You could have dropped the balls in a different way, but it does bring up obviously that sense of fair play. So Michael Oliver, and I've been reading up on this weekend about how refereeing decisions impact sports betting outcomes, and obviously it relies on predicting the outcomes. Sports betting, which include not only the final score, but obviously the various in-game elements, which like the points spread, the goals scored, individual players scoring, which is what brought us to cricket and the match fixing and the spot fixing there. So it was about how many no balls could be bowled, and there were worries then. But obviously, I don't think Mike Oliver, in any way, is guilty of this. It was a stupid decision, but then he gets abuse. So this is Ian Wright, the former Arsenal striker, absolutely going off his head about the standard of refereeing.
Can I just say it's a joke? Anyone that has ever played the game, and I'm not even talking Premier League, I'm talking five-a-side Sunday League, knows it's never red. Yellow card, nobody says a word. Time and time again, this level of refereeing, just the decisions in the Premier League, the inconsistency, the excuses, the apologies, all of them are just centre of attention for me. It's like we can't criticise too hard simply because where the ref's going to come from, where we're going to get them. But I'm sorry, this is the highest level of football, and we do not have the highest level of referees. When will the Premier League bring the best refs into the so-called best league in the world? Because at the moment, with this level of refereeing, we're nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
So that doesn't help referees in the slightest. And because a respected person like Ian Wright, he does big shows in the UK, it would be like you going on air and calling out a referee and saying, you basically robbed the game from us, and you're not great. And that's going to influence the amount of social media abuse. And social media is for cowards and abusers.
Yeah. And I guess everybody has a loud voice there, you know, when you're behind your screen. Do you have as a loud voice to stand it up in a room full of people and say what it is? Yeah,
I mean, I feel for Michael Oliver. I mean, like I said, being a referee, I would get abuse from my own players, from my own mates, guys that I would go to parties with, guys I would meet for coffee in the morning. And on a Sunday during the game, I was the biggest marser in the world, you know, and I don't know if it's worth doing the refereeing. And there comes that I would refuse to do it.
It's not a nice job, right? It isn't. I was a linesman, actually, for the SA Open, tennis. Okay. I was in high school. I remember calling a ball that hadn't landed yet. So... but it was way out. There was no way this ball was going to be in. And I called it out before it landed. So I was like, out. And
Did you use that voice?
Yes, exactly. Out. Go a little bit higher pitched, you know. And the player turns around. I think it was Neville Godwin, if I'm not mistaken. He turns around and he was like, it's not out. Because it didn't land. And I was like, there's not even like a breeze here that's about to blow this ball back in, you know. But anyway, we're taught to only call it out once the ball lands, right? And I didn't do that. And then I chirped him after that as well. By saying, but there's no breeze. The ball is out. It's out. It's like out by a mile. And then they were like, okay, now we're changing the lines person, and in comes someone else. And I was like, it was boiling hot in any case. I'm quite happy to be off the court. And then after that, everybody like kind of side eyes you, you know, like, hope you're not on my court. So it's not a nice feeling. And for me, that is like a drop in the ocean in terms of experience. But a coach and a referee is not a job that I take very lightly because of the abuse. Regardless if you're winning or if you're losing, if it's the right call, if it's the wrong call, you are under the microscope.
Well, exactly. And Jamie Carragher was speaking on Sky Sports about this very thing.
You know, without a referee, you've got no game. You know, and I do worry about what Jamie's just mentioned there. You know, where do you get officials? And do we want the standards raised? Yeah, of course we do. We always want it to be better. That doesn't mean we can't critique referees and expect higher standards. And whether it's, you know, something was a poor decision, we've got to push for that. But there's a line you can't cross. And this situation, and it all stems from social media. And I'm quite active on social media, but the stuff I see from every set of supporters, this is not just Arsenal supporters yesterday, this is every set of supporters, including my own Liverpool. It's tiresome listening to them talking about referees and always thinking their team are the ones who are always getting wronged, and there's a conspiracy, the corrupt against my team. It's embarrassing to see people actually speak like that, and they actually believe all these officials or the Premier League. I mean, I commentate now, and every week you'll hear a chant in the stadium, the Premier League corrupt. You know, it's just like, where are we at with the game here? When people actually believe... I mean, this is not happening, but people actually do believe these things. You know, the officials or the Premier League have got it in for their team, but nobody else. They've only got in for their team, but all the other 19 teams know that they're pro them, but they're just against my team. It's embarrassing and it's a nonsense. But a lot of it, 90% of it's social media.
So we will put up a translation of that later.
Because
it's
he
very
was way too fast for me.
Yeah, he's very much a Scarso, which is like listening to a Northern Irishman. If you had to listen to me and my family speak to each other, you wouldn't understand a word. Because obviously you have that strong Northern Irish accent. And Scarso the same. Is great, you know, it's great, that's great.
I had no idea, yeah.
No, I mean, you have posh Scarsos, and then you have Jamie Carragher, and he speaks like he's not sober most of the time. Like he garbles, like he's gargling down a beer. But he also made sense in that. He said it's social media, and I think you and I both backed off social media quite a bit, and I have just because of the
abuse, man. It's the abuse at the end of the day.
You say one thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like I wore my hair curly on television, and I was told I was a disgrace. Do I not have a flat iron to straighten it?
What?
Yes. So after that, I was just like, you know what? I can do me. So
I've never heard anything like that.
Or if it's my daughter and I actually had to open a court case against someone. That's why I'm not on Facebook. That's how bad it got, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I take a step back, and I mean, I love what I do, and it just so happens, you know, that
You're
part of it correct. Yeah. But yeah. So social media is ratchet, man. It's filth.
It's not evil, but the people who use it are. And the people who use it there's no sense of boundaries, there's no sense of decency, and no sense of honor, and there's no sense of realizing that what you're saying about someone. People.
But also, if you're gonna dish it, take it, right? And also, once you're dishing it, I mean, is it kind? Is it necessary? Do you have to berate the person the way you are? You know. So I'm very cautious when it comes to social media, what I say, what I put out. And often I want to put something out, and I'm actually like, you know what? Don't. Because someone's just going to ruin this moment.
Yeah, exactly that. And it creates stir. And what I used to call them Twitter wars. I mean, it's like fights between two drunks at a pub. Afterwards said, you said that about me? No, I didn't. You bumped into me. You did. And it's like two dogs barking each other through a gate. And you open up the gate and suddenly go, oh, hang on. Wait.
No one's barking.
No one's barking. Oh, damn it. This is real life.
Yeah.
So Henry Winter, who's used to be a writer for The Times, and he writes his own column, he had this to say about the whole thing.
And talking Arsenal, they're all over the back pages this morning, aren't they, Henry?
Well, they are. I mean, I was slightly surprised that the headlines weren't super Cala, as in Calafiori. Arteta goes ballistic.
Because, good one, Henry. You should have been on the subs desk last night.
Because, the whole... It was nonsense.
Well, let's explain it.
Okay, so it's very simple. Miles Lewis-Skelly was doing a professional foul, a cynical trip on Matt Doherty, who was breaking forward for Wolves at Molineux against Arsenal. And, I mean, it was never going to be denial of a goal-scoring opportunity because he was about, 80 yards from goal. There were two Arsenal players covering. It was deemed serious foul play by Michael Oliver. And look, I'm a Michael Oliver supporter over the years. I think he's probably, with Anthony Taylor, he's been our most consistent and best referee in the last sort of 7-8 years. I think he's a good referee, and that is, he's very respected in Europe as well. So I thought it was a mistake by him. I tweeted about it at half time, and the reaction was, I mean, by Twitter standards, which is normally fairly polarised, was obviously a mistake. But then Arsenal fans were saying it's a conspiracy against us. Michael Oliver's got history against us, which I simply don't buy.
But the flat earthers at Arsenal, which we amusingly called them during the week because they see conspiracy everywhere, now have some actual real evidence to suggest that things go against them when they shouldn't.
Well, but sorry, I think you can talk to every supporter. I'm sure you've got VAR issues. Wolves, of all teams, have had a lot go against them VAR.
Arsenal have been sort of moaning about this for some time. And
do you think there's genuinely a conspiracy against Arsenal?
No, I don't. But I mean, I wind some of the Arsenal fans up in our office all about it, but I actually think this time they've got a case.
Well, they've got a case in that it was a bad decision, but I don't think they've got a case in terms of there is a conspiracy against Arsenal. I just simply don't buy that. But anyway, it was a poor decision. I mean, it was inexplicable. And when you hear, Jamie O'Hara was pretty emphatic about it. Perry Groves, Alan Shearer, those who played the games, the referees, I think apart from Mike Dean, all the former referees were saying this was
Mike Dean say?
Well, I think it wasn't he on Sky saying that actually it was. I might have got that wrong, but he said that it was. He sort of explained why, and I think that PGMOL, who are the referees' union, effectively,
the PGMOL needs to stand up. Is there a referees' union in South Africa?
I'm sure there is.
We actually need to speak to them about the abuse. Perhaps South African referees must get more abuse, as much abuse. Sorry.
I think of late it's quite a lot. I also think of late there's a lot of red cards dropping. I don't necessarily think it's more for language, but obviously, it is bookable offences. But I wonder how much of those red cards is a sprinkling of that abuse.
Yeah, so if you have children, don't let them play in goals. Mm-hmm. Be a goalkeeper, and don't be a coach, and don't be a referee. Mm-hmm. Right. Tomorrow we actually talk about that again, I'm sure. We will be talking about this for the rest of the week.
Yeah, we will. I think there's so many stories in one story that we will be unpacking it as we go this week. But tomorrow is Wham!
What a mampara!
We'll see you then. Cheerio.
Listen live and on demand.
Welcome to Omni Sport.